He has a sawmill up in Minnesota. He might come down and do some collaboration videos with us. So Matt, if you're watching, I hope you come down pretty soon. And so we copied a lot of his arch and everything that he has on his trailer. We've used his system. And today, Greg got a call from the tree guy and said, "Oh man, I got like this 25-foot red oak, you know, because our goal is to put together a log cabin so you guys can buy log cabins." And then, so he ran over there and got it, and then he brought it up here, and we got it off the truck, and everything worked like a dream, but it just ran me out of schedule a little bit.
And then we had our visitor earlier too.
Yeah, we had some visitors today. Nice visitors today.
I had good visitors.
We've been waiting years for these visitors, and then I had to leave.
And he wasn't here.
I took the grandkids home because they spent the night with us, and then I missed them.
Yeah, I hear clap, 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 and I'm in the outside kitchen. I'm in the outside kitchen, and I'm making some hair brandy, and I'm cutting stuff up, and I see a buggy and a horse coming down the way, and it's our little neighbors, and they brought the kids over. They wanted to come over and see all the new additions that we had done, and it was a really nice little visit. But Doug missed it all.
Doug's 6'5", and yeah, if Trump could do one thing, you get rid of this stupid daylight savings time. So we should go fall back, you know, to our regular time, and then stop. Never change the clocks again.
Yeah, it's not fun.
So the Amish call this fast time. This is fast time right here, and they don't like it. They would just want to keep it regular time all the time. Hey Deb, Brian's doing great. He's probably sitting here right now watching. All right.
You guys want to see Maggie? No. Or not Maggie?
No, everyone's sleeping. Leave them alone. They're laying down. Do you have a stream or water pond on the property? Yeah, we have a pond stocked with fish. We eat out of it.
Michael.
And it's a natural, it's like a runoff. Yeah, we'll swim in it. Keep cool in the summer. It's a runoff, so the previous owners pitched the land so everything runs into there, and then it has a spill off on the other side.
We Molly's under the table.
Going to play it by ear tonight.
She's been very busy lately. So all she does is eat and sleep.
Okay, so if you guys have questions, make sure you leave them all in caps. Do you use colloidal silver? We use it so much we turn things purple.
No, they're hearing.
No, we use it. I really do like
tell them.
To cover.
They might have never heard the story. There's a lot of new subscribers.
Okay, cool.
Okay, well, I'm going to talk about. Yeah, I like colloidal silver, especially with animals and for humans. Like if you, a lot of times, like when I'm getting chicken water or something, and it splashes in my eye, and you're like, oh. So I'll come in and put some colloidal silver in my eye, or the dogs, or if you have an animal or something that looks like they're going to get pink eye or something, or there's like yucky.
But it's not coming through. Is that working?
Hello.
Is this working? Just to confirm, because I just was looking at Tina's saying I am only one who hears Doug and Stacy.
Doug and Stacy is louder than us. We have them closed down.
We have them closed on our computer.
Can you put it in a new frame?
No. Gone now. Okay, maybe it was because I had the other page still open, even though my computer's muted. That was odd. I haven't had that happen before.
No, we weren't watching Doug and Stacy.
Well, we did.
Carrie was watching Doug and Stacy.
We did have Doug and Stacy on
just a moment ago.
We did have them on, but I didn't think it would carry the sound over because our computer's muted. So I had forgotten they were still open in a different window. But that is really odd. That's funny. That's funny. Okay. But I do know Carrie was in that room watching Doug and Stacy. Yep. So anyway, so we should have sound now, right, you guys? Regular sound, not somebody else's live. But as I was saying, we're going to play it by ear tonight because this is our first time doing this with a newborn in the house. So she is asleep in my arms right now. But we will run through some of our updates this week and, well, for the last 2 weeks.
Yep. Last week we got home
on Sunday.
Sunday afternoon. My parents arrived Sunday afternoon. Cindy's sisters left Sunday morning. So we were just kind of in transition and really couldn't pull off a live show. Cindy
I was exhausted
and recovering because she was being woken up every 2 hours, either for the baby or herself for taking.
At the hospital, they wake you up a heck of a lot more.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So yeah, that was interesting. So get home and I'm exhausted. Baby's exhausted. you were probably a little bit better than the two of us, but probably not good.
I had kind of slept off and on, but it
Yeah.
was, I was.
The hospital's not a good place to rest.
No, I mean, I slept kind of much of the days because there wasn't as much to do. Just a couch, but yeah, so I got a lot more sleep than Cindy, but it was,
Yeah, I think I might have gotten just 12 hours of sleep the entire time at the hospital.
Yeah.
After the first night.
Yeah, and even though I slept a bunch more, I wasn't getting good sleep,
No.
or you know, you get broken sleep that isn't very helpful.
Which is funny because we get home and Sunday night, I got, I think, 3 hours straight of sleep, and it felt like I'd gotten a whole night of sleep because I don't think I had gotten 3 hours straight of sleep
no more
in
than
days.
2 or 3 hours. Yeah.
So yeah, but
I woke up a friend to give him a sleeping pill. That sounds about right. I can believe that.
Yeah, that's
Tina,
crazy.
what's a CS generator?
Just about a CS generator, looking for any info. I don't know what the CS stands for.
Yeah.
I'd have to ask about that. Yeah. Okay, anyway, so we'll keep watching. We have a number of people in the room.
Max, every 2 hours.
Away.
Cindy's been nursing like every 2 hours or
2
more.
to 3. Trying to get her weight up a little
Suburban's going to come in and out not feeling well. Do you want to show the baby before Suburban hops out?
Okay, so we do have lots of still pictures, but do you want to see a live sleeping baby? Okay, get you in. Here we go. No, we got turn towards me. There we go. There's our baby. Sleepy girl. So luckily, while I was working on all the pictures, she decided she wanted to nurse then. Now, it was a little difficult to do that one-handed, but we got all the pictures done. But yeah.
So baby Isabella or Bella?
So baby Bella is Permie number 3, as came up on some of our tags as we were leading up to the delivery. Was just born a week and a half ago. And so it was planned to be an induction, but things don't typically go as planned with births. So we ended up with emergency C-section. So we ended up staying until Sunday, which we're hoping to be able to get out Saturday if it was going to be a natural birth. But
probably Friday or Saturday, but really thinking Saturday, and so they delayed one extra day. Everything was good, but extra recovery time, extra monitoring, make sure everybody was good.
And so we do have some pictures from the last week, and we have a colloidal silver.
But what's the generator part?
Something to make the colloidal silver.
Oh.
I did see you have questions.
Colloidal silver is used a lot in hospitals and for wound and burn healing. It absolutely works.
Yeah, but how do you make it? I have no idea.
I don't know how you get it colloidal. So
I don't know how it's made.
Yeah, have to look that up.
Yeah, I know a lot of people use it at home too.
I mean, it used to be you can get prescription strength. I think they have more of it available now. And then, chef where I work with, Alberto, always had colloidal silver in suspension or in liquid, and he would take drops pretty much daily, ingest drops.
Yeah.
So, but you can also do it as a salve or cream, which is really good for wound healing.
Yeah. Yeah, I know there's lots of use of it. People will sometimes put eye drops, make eye drops of it, and other things. Another thing that has a lot of uses for wound healing, by the way, which has been mentioned to me by multiple people. I kind of knew it before, but even the pediatricians and everything, is breast milk. They said you'll heal almost 2 times faster if you have a cut if you put breast milk on it. So just a fun fact on that one. But we do have some.
It's antimicrobial.
Yeah, it is.
Because of the antibodies and things in it.
Yeah.
It has some protein and otherwise, but I think a lot of it's
probably
it's live active antibodies. My question is, can you do that with raw? Can you do that with other raw milk sources?
Yeah. Well, I mean, of course, we'd have to make sure it's clean.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue with raw milk in general, just making sure it's clean. But yeah, I would think you could. So yeah, that natural wound healing available in our house at the moment. But hopefully don't need that for that reason anyway. So yeah, so baby Bella or Isabella or pretty girl or Permie number 3, whatever you like to call her. I
That's
use
interesting.
bread milk.
Probably
Okay,
breast
use
milk.
breast milk,
Yes.
bread milk on number. Okay, yeah, yes, yeah, I've heard that too.
It's not going to hurt anything, and it's, you know, if it helps, that's
Yeah,
great.
raw goat's milk is used to treat mastitis, pink eye. I've heard of that for
Okay.
pink eye.
All right. So that's yeah. We heard about
goat's
breast milk for pink eye. So
Yeah,
okay. So it sounds like if you have a clean source
of raw
of
milk.
a raw milk, it may
Yeah,
be
it makes sense. There's
similarly useful.
so many antibodies in there that are basically the baby's only initial source of antibodies is mom's. So that's the whole protection. That's also why you generally try not to bring newborns into public places, is because they don't really have a developed immune system yet. So when they're this young, we stay out of places like the grocery store and that. But so yeah, we have a series of pictures. I know this live. Oh,
Well, kind
she's
of
chatting.
going to similarly, I saw last year was a review of a study looking at who the healthiest people were,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it came down to farmers, or within farmers, they started looking at farms and why are farmers so healthy, and is it their way of life? You know, the physical work, being outside, the exposure, whatever. We also know it's one of the most dangerous professions for
Injury.
I think it is the most dangerous, actually, but if you're not getting injured in something else, you know, some other way, they looked at it.
Well,
And
very
they're
physically active and healthy.
yeah, and you
food
have equipment, and you don't have as much safeguards, and you have old equipment also, which has less safeties and such. But anyways, they found out that actually dairy farms had the healthiest families. They don't know why for sure. It could have been raw milk. It could have been just an exposure to a lot of high quality beef and milk product.
Yeah.
And vegetables and a robust
More natural.
high protein,
Yeah.
more natural diet, a traditional diet.
Yeah.
They didn't make any conclusions. They just noted that dairy farms had slightly lower incidence of disease and health problems than even the rest of them.
So Mac's family hoping says that thankful for good daddies that will go out and get groceries for us. Well, I'll tell you what, since I'm married to a chef, he goes to get the groceries anyway, because he don't want me buying stuff that for you to cook, because I won't know what to get. Suburban Hillbillies came up with Permies Princess. Probably will be. She is the only granddaughter on one side, and she is the number 5 grandchild on the other side. But I have a feeling she's going to get spoiled. She's actually going through some of her facial expressions, which, if you watched our Instagram this week, it completely switched over to baby pictures. A couple food pictures, but pretty much baby pictures all week. And we do have some of those here today that we'll go through a little bit. Okay. Okay, you're shifting around. She's getting wiggly. Still asleep though. Raw milk has more vitamins also. Yeah, because some of the vitamins will break down.
Vitamins.
Some types will break down. Yes, so if we keep going, I do have a picture I want to ask if you want to show, but we'll show the other ones. We had a picture of before the hospital going into, my sister wanted a belly picture before we went, so we just took a picture before we went to the hospital. Because we ended up with an emergency C-section, I actually had to be put under general anesthesia, so I did not actually get to do a lot of the initial contact. I did get to meet her as I was waking up, just really briefly, but a lot of the initial stuff Mike did. So you ended up doing, I don't know if you want that picture.
I don't care. That's fine.
You ended up doing what they usually do with
No,
I didn't post that one. What moms usually do is the skin to skin, which is important for the newborn's temperature regulation and bonding and all of that. Usually they try to do skin to skin on mom like right away, even with C-sections. But since I was under general anesthesia, they couldn't do that, so Dad got to do that instead. And they were also watching me a little bit closer for the first half day or so. So they had me actually in a separate area from Dad and baby. So,
Yeah, they put us into recovery first as they were just finishing up and getting her ready to go to recovery. She was actually just in the little partition, turns out pretty much next to us.
Yeah.
But for the first half hour or so, I was with, they always put a nurse with the baby and a nurse with the mother. There's 2 nurses that are assigned. So I had
the
baby nurse who was really good. I ran into her in town this week, actually,
Yeah.
surprisingly, at a store. And she was really helpful. So, and then the nurse aide who had helped.
You got to feed and you got to do skin to skin and all that.
Yeah, the nurse aide who would help get us over to the room, because usually they wheel you in, and they actually carried. The nurse carried her.
Yeah.
Which
The
basically
rules are,
doesn't happen.
The rules are, if you're transporting a baby, the baby's always in a bassinet.
But she couldn't get.
But we were in a different part of the hospital than normal.
And they had the bassinet in the OR, but it was in a back corner, and it would have been, and there was all kinds of stuff all over. They would have had a hard time getting it wheeled out.
Oh,
so,
wow. Okay.
So they just took her from the OR, just down the hall, to the recovery, and then they brought in a bassinet to start doing, was available there. So actually, the nurse aide who had come down to clear the way to make sure that they had a clear passage. Said they had just had a baby like a couple weeks ago or a month or 2 ago, and they had a similar situation, and he was also with the baby for a short period of time, because I think probably the mother was also recovering, probably from a C-section or whatever. So
well, and the nice thing about the hospital, because I had a little bit longer recovery from the section than normal, was that they actually have a donor breast milk program. So we were able to get her started on breast milk, even though it was bottled right away, and we're able to supplement that until my body caught up, because that's all the problem with C-sections, is that sometimes the milk comes in, or the colostrum comes in a little bit slower after that. So we were able to use donor milk, which they highly screen and have, but there's not that many donor milk programs in the
so
US.
So there's very few, and that they have a pretty generous supply, which is rare that they have as much supply as they need.
Yeah.
So clearly somebody founded a program, and they've been able to get enough people involved to continue to contribute, that they have a regular. So they freeze down portions and make it available. So it's So
it's a great program, and helped us a lot during our time there, and we were able to slowly switch over. They even send you home with, like, was it 8 ounces of donor milk in case you need a supplement until things completely come in, because of course fed baby is better than having a shortage.
My mom was saying that they have there was no training getting out of the hospital when I was born. So it was right in the transition of a lot of people moving off of breastfeeding and moving much more to formula feeding. And then because I was born mid-70s. Yeah. Then as you get into the late 70s and 80s, a lot of babies were not breastfed at all. They just formula fed. So people are kind of moving away from that. But she said there's really no help, no education, nothing in place, which actually made it very hard.
My parents said the same thing for my older sister. Yeah.
They have all kinds of support at our local hospital, from shift assistance for people coming around and doing lactation consultations. That are all trained and certified.
They had a lactation consultant stop by every day we were there.
At least once, if not twice.
At least once. And I had one who stopped by at night as I was recovering from the C-section to show me how to use the breast pump.
They used to run overnight. Now they run all but the middle of the night.
They run 4 hours at night. So they do have nighttime ones. They just don't run the entire night.
Yeah, they don't run all night long. Yeah. So they have a pretty robust program to set up so that babies are well fed formula, breast milk, however it works, and to advise and train and provide any type of. And they have call-ins and everything else. So it's really robust, because they know. Well, one of the biggest things is
8-13 months.
Is loss is a little higher in the U.S. than in a lot of developed countries. They don't really know why, but one of the easiest ways to prevent loss or complex medical problems is allowing proper feeding to take place. And so it's pretty easy to do that.
Yeah.
And the results of not doing that are obviously devastating. So
yeah, so and plus we have a whole generation of people who weren't breastfed.
Yeah.
Their parents didn't breastfeed them, so you lost the generational training. You know, if you have parents come who breastfed their kids, they can train their kids how to breastfeed and what all the tricks are and stuff. And we completely lost that in that formula generation, pretty much.
yeah, so they've done a really good job. That's clearly a high point of the local program.
Yep. So Michigan, my third.
Yeah, that's a hospital. That would be one of them.
Yeah, a hospital called Bronson Children's Hospital, Kalamazoo.
Yep, I have them as a client, and
that's where we were. That's where Bella was born.
Yep.
So they did a really good job, I will say.
We have a few good hospitals in our region.
Yeah.
We have 2 pretty good hospitals in our area.
In town.
And,
this one's probably a little more set up for the high risk.
They have a NICU and a high
yeah.
risk. The other hospital can handle most things, but when they have something that's a higher risk, they actually would prefer to have it done
at Bronson.
So yeah.
So I mean, they're both
fully equipped.
They're both community hospitals.
And I don't know if they have an air flight program out of
Borges.
Out of Borges, they might. But they have helicopter
so.
flights, so they can get to Michigan State or University of Michigan
or Spectrum
or something. If they have a severe issue with anything, they have a pretty strong program to get people even out of the region and into the top hospitals.
He was a preemie, So I actually got to meet Bella a little bit later when I was more recovered. I did meet her when I was coming out of anesthesia, and we have a picture of that. But I was so nauseous that I'm not sharing that one.
They're just starting to take the drugs down at that point.
Yeah, and I was just barely waking up out of general anesthesia. It was just like my face looks yellow in that picture. But this is me actually completely out, and for the most part, general recovered.
So was that the
next day?
Or was that the next day?
That was the next day. I didn't see her until the next morning.
That's right. Yeah, because we didn't bring her up to the ICU.
Like late morning too, because it took them a while to get me switched back. They actually had me in the ICU afterwards, not because of any health issue that I was having, but more for safety because I do have basically I have a heart defect, so they were watching me really, really closely. But I did get to see her the next day. So
it's good to hear that you're pressure canning water, Carrie.
I promised pressure earlier, man. Just fix it.
Hey, it's better to pressure can water first than to ruin something that's important and can't be made again.
Practice it. Yes, the pumpkin hat. The pumpkin hat was from the hospital.
Yeah, so they have people that donate little blankets and of course handmade hats. They have other little knit hats. That was given to us actually, I think, in recovery room. Somebody brought, the nurses got on there like, oh, this is a great one, and they grabbed it. It was just a little big. So that was a donated pumpkin hat. So they gave her.
And it does have a pumpkin on it, and we still have it here somewhere. The blanket, she has been attached to this blanket, I think, because she does not like going down in the bassinet. But if I swaddle her in this blanket, she goes down a lot better. And this is a blanket they were swaddling her. Again, it's another donation instead of the regular hospital blanket.
Yeah.
So, but she has been very attached. It's like a really soft fleece blanket. And we're still trying to figure out tricks to keep her down at night, or not keep her down, but to re-put her down at night, because at night she's not wanting to go back to sleep, or at least not going to sleep outside of someone's arms, which is a problem.
That's not a bad idea to pressure can water for the well.
Oh,
yeah. So I mean, you can do buckets, and you can put very, very minute amounts of bleach. It's like a half a teaspoon or something, or a teaspoon to a 5-gallon bucket. The problem is, well, that'll preserve it.
Yeah.
You get a pretty strong chlorine flavor that you can let dissipate a little bit, but you get that in your water, and that's nasty.
Yeah.
I mean, it's at a safe level to kill bacteria and not harm you, but it's you can do the iodine, which is the same thing. You get the iodine flavor. So yeah, actually, pressure canning water, probably not a bad idea to put it away that way.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, there's lots of programs with knitters that donate. We actually have that at work, my work too. We have a cancer center there, and we have a lot of people donating hats knit hats, especially as we get into winter. And they have these in baggies in our waiting room so people can just sort through. They also, interesting thing that they donate, because the #1 cancer for women is breast cancer, right? So a lot of people who've had mastectomies and no reconstruction might be waiting for prosthetic bras or whatnot, but they have a knitter who will knit some different size things that will fit into a woman's bra and make it look like they have something there, which I thought was so sweet. But they have those in the waiting room too. But yeah.
So, yeah, we have swaddles. We have.
I have a sling. You're not supposed
sling.
to use it until the sling. You're not supposed to use until 4 months. So I do have a sling, one that can be used actually in multiple configurations. We have a baby backpack that we want. It has a newborn insert. So I don't care. Yeah. Oh, it retracted it. Oh God. Wait. Oh, it retracted something else. But yes, 13 moons. I don't mind. Yes, YouTube actually made me approve that comment. But since I work in breast cancer care, go ahead. Yeah, so we do have a baby backpack that I need to set up the insert for newborn because I'd like to be able to carry her around a little better this week. Your parents were here through this morning, so we had a lot of help this week where I could hand her off during the day. So that was definitely very helpful. That meant I could get some naps in. It meant without having to worry about trying to get her down in the bassinet. That she's been a little spoiled of falling asleep in arms. She doesn't like the bassinet. She doesn't like to be put down. But you're not supposed to sleep with the baby. Don't need any SIDS problems. That would be very bad.
Going back, the comment going back to work at 6 weeks and waiting tables. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah.
Of course, the problem now is, what is it? Federally, most states you can go 12 weeks, but a lot of companies won't pay you. I work, of course, in the.
They have to hold your job.
Yeah, they hold your job, but great. You're working in a moderate to a lower income position where you need every penny, and now you have more needs.
Yeah.
Who cares if you get 12 weeks off? I mean, that doesn't solve the problems. Yeah, and I know in most restaurants, small restaurants didn't provide much of anything.
And if you have short-term disability, you have 6 weeks for natural pregnancy, 8 weeks for a C-section for that. But that's if you have short-term disability benefits.
And I can tell you, like, as a small business where I just have a couple part-time employees, and they're set up strictly as, it's a day a week, 2 days a week
like
type thing. So.
Yeah.
Well, no, they're on. They're on an hourly, but it's, But I don't offer any benefits, and there is no way I could offer. Can't offer anything to myself. But in most small restaurants, can't even if they want to, can't afford to. Now I do know one restaurant in town. They're pretty good about. They offered to pay $50 a week against the federal health care for any staff that wanted to pay in to purchase federal health care. None of their staff have done it, which that's the most generous offer I have heard. And that was because businesses that are under 50 people or whatever don't have to. Frankly, it's unaffordable, but there's no solution at the moment for that. But I thought the $50 a week, which isn't a lot, it paid about half of the federal program, and I was like, that's pretty generous. In fact, that's probably the best way to go for somebody like myself. If we get bigger and get to that where we have full-time people, that's probably the best we can do, but it doesn't solve everything.
Yeah. So yeah, I do have Family Leave Act guarantees up to 12 weeks. So that would put me into January. Now the other thing at my work is you can apply PTO to it, so I can go beyond the 8 weeks that I get for short-term disability and stay home longer, although it doesn't quite get me to the 12-week mark. So we'll have to decide on, it's close. We'll have to decide on what we'll do with that at the end. But do you have a nursery decor theme? Yeah, we actually do. Although our nursery is technically
a little
it's a nook
in our master bedroom right now. We do have a spare. We have a
kids room.
We have two. Yeah, we have a guest room and we have a kids room. But it's down the hall and not definitely ready.
And that's another recommendation is to have the baby sleep in the room. It's another SIDS prevention recommendation. Have the baby sleep in parents' room, not in the parents' bed. So
In a bassinet or crib close
yeah.
by.
Yeah, so that you can hear them if there's any distress. But yeah, so we actually have a little nook off of our master bedroom where it barely fits a crib, a changing table, a little unit under a window for some clothes, and we did kind of squeeze, doesn't really fit well, but squeeze a rocking chair in there as well. So we have that area set up. We also have a bassinet for next to the bed. So, and right now we're using the bassinet because it makes it so she's closer. Might transition her into the crib here, not that long, but for now, the bassinet works. Is it possible to bring her with you when you return to work? No, I don't have any daycare system at work. I work with patients all day, so I can't bring her. However, one thing we are going to try is, well, your work is.
My work, yeah, I have more flexibility. I have a lot of hours to do, but my work is around the house, except for when I'm on the road doing stuff. So we're gonna try and integrate that. Probably, I may have to kind of look at scheduling, and when Cindy's sleeping, I may need to work much of the night, and then try and sort of sleep at times where the baby's more around and sleeping. I don't know how we're gonna have to figure that out, because if if I sleep all night and then I do work and then I can't take care of the baby fully, if Cindy goes to work, of course she comes home from work. If I've been taking care of the baby most of the day, she's going to have to take care of the baby almost instantly after work, because I'll need to do work. So I don't know. We're going to try and figure that out. But yeah, I plan to have the baby with me. My winter is slower. It's still plenty busy, but it's slower, and I'm not doing active markets and things during the week. So we have some flexibility to try and figure it out. We actually have a good I don't think we have.
I never did say the theme.
Oh yeah.
The theme is a farm theme.
Yeah, we kind of have a farm or animal theme.
Yeah, I mean it started off as farm theme. I got this nice crib set that was farm theme related.
Baby shower we decided
baby showers farm
kind
theme.
of a fall farm theme.
Yeah. So we just went with it and kept going. The crazy thing is that it's actually harder to find farm theme things for babies. Everything's jungle theme right now, so it's very animal oriented, but it's not the same. So so I was able to find a few things that go with it, and we're not doing like
I have a friend who had volunteered, we'll see if we end up doing it, had volunteered to do a mural that she had training in school to do, like cartooning and caricature art, and said that she would come and do a themed mural, a wall mural of our choosing for the baby. So she's actually been in and out of the hospital recently, but that may happen. We'll see if it's the offer's on the table. We may.
If we do something like that, it'll probably be in the kids' room.
It'll be in the kids' room. Yeah.
We'll keep our nook.
Another thing we found out here, which really surprised me, I don't think we would necessarily take use of it, but we might at some point. The YMCA downtown Kalamazoo, I had a staff person who had a grandchild she had to do primary care for. She was dropping off the grandchild at the Y during dinner shift. And she could pick, and we get done 11 o'clock at night or whatever. She said, no, I need to be out to get the bus to get home, but I can pick up the child at any point. They have 24-hour daycare at the Y. And I said, I've never heard of that, even in bigger cities. I said, that's an amazing, because that's the biggest hindrance for single parents is how do I work, and how do I work jobs that aren't always 9 to 5? How do I work an evening job like in the restaurant field, and how do I get the baby taken care of if I don't have a family member to do it? So that's we don't have a P.O. box. We just have a mailbox.
Regular address that we have had people send things to. If this is for gifts or something, you can actually, I guess what you do is, technically our address has been public on YouTube before.
Yeah, briefly. My business, if you look up my business on
address.
West Michigan Provisions, my business address happens to coordinate with our home address at the moment. So that's the easiest way to find it.
Yeah, if you go to West Michigan, PostTimePermies.com.
Yeah.
You can, or you can send us a message.
Suite 1 is our house, and Suite 2 is
The business.
the business.
No, yeah, I mean, we actually hosted the Rhodes meetup at our house, so technically it was public in the past.
Yeah, no, it's
But
not,
we
it's
haven't.
not too big of a deal.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, it's if you want to send something that's appreciated,
that's awesome.
you definitely
Yes.
don't have to. But
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
No, it's actually been there. It's actually been public before.
Yep.
So, and it is. You can find anyone's addresses if you really looked hard enough. Technically, we do also still have our baby registry up as well. So I don't know if they actually give. They probably don't give the address. They just send to us.
I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
don't know. Tina should know that.
I have honestly never looked at the. I never
the
looked at the
registry.
baby registry.
No, I put it together with my sister.
I guess it was Amazon or something, or
It's an Amazon baby registry.
I never looked at it.
Yeah, no.
Because I mean, we had a baby shower and everything, but the party was about having a good time and seeing people, so
Yeah.
I didn't really worry about it.
Yeah.
Her sister set it up because she has.
She had a lot
younger
of
children,
hand-me-downs.
and she was like, "This is what you need." So
Yeah, exactly. She knew
um,
what she was giving us and knew what we didn't need, so she helped me put it together.
yeah, a heating pad below the mattress so it doesn't get too hot is an interesting idea. She seems to be running pretty hot and almost trying to keep her heat. Moderating is important, but keeping her heat down and not too bundled up is probably more an issue.
She seems
at
to
the
be
moment,
more comfortable, not as bundled up. I mean, 'cause
which
we
I tend to
got-
like, not being overly.
Yeah, I get hot when I sleep, but because that was another thing. My sister was like, "Here's fleece, what do you call them? Sleep and play pajamas. Here's the thicker, halo swaddle." She goes, "Make sure she's all nice and warm for sleeping." But the thing is, she seems to overheat when she sleeps.
Yeah.
So I've actually pulled back a little bit this week. It says it's private address. Oh, okay. On the registry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Send us a text. We're happy to send you our
Yeah,
address.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not going to spell it out for everybody on YouTube.
No.
Fine, but yeah, anybody, just let us know.
If any.
Happy for you to get a hold of us. I'm sure a search will
Yeah.
come up with it. And yeah, again, if you look for West Michigan Provisions, our website, I think at the bottom or somewhere in there, I believe.
Does it have it on there? If not, you can send a message through that too. But yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we have it on there. Yeah.
At one point, I had some on my packaging, and I had the city, but I removed the street address because one of our friends said, actually, you don't have to do that on a food product if it is commonly available to locate information to contact a company. You don't need to have a street address.
Yeah.
Because I have other friends that have food businesses out of their houses.
Yeah.
And they're like, how do we legally meet? Get contact if somebody, a recall or something, or a question. And so I had people that also had apartments and other things that were very uncomfortable having their address. I don't mind it. I just don't. I took it off our packaging. So.
Tina, thanks.
So.
Buy the pasta. It's delicious. Yeah, thank you.
We got to put our free shipping expired. I should probably
redo it.
Re-up that. That
update.
Probably finished at the end of August, actually.
Oh.
Probably need to put a new promo up, or probably free shipping. That seems to be working right now.
Getting into the holiday season, so yeah.
Yeah, I may not be as generous as in the middle of the shipping adds up.
Yeah, shipping does.
I'll tell you that.
But
pay a lot of money in shipping to people.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go back. We have one picture of. Well, I have other pictures of your parents with.
Oh yeah.
Bella, but I haven't downloaded them and edited them yet. So this is just a cell phone pic of your mom.
So they left early this morning, so they're probably still driving back home. Going to be home in an hour or two. So they were here from Sunday afternoon through Sunday morning.
Yeah.
This week, helping out.
Yeah, and helped out a lot. And your dad worked on some projects that I didn't get pictures of yet. Maybe we'll talk about it next week.
He did a lot of odds and ends and projects that we just have been too busy to do. And then my mom did a lot of dishes and did some cooking, and I put her on some projects, food projects that she likes to do.
Yep. And baby snuggle projects.
And then she helped take care of the baby. So so they were around all week.
Yeah.
I had a fairly busy work week trying to get things back up and going, and I have a lot of projects that are backing up. So I am trying to find as much time to get ready for the holidays and clear some big projects over the next couple weeks.
And I'm actually feeling so much better. I mean, it's amazing how much things change day to day.
Yeah.
they sent me home with 2 pain well, technically a script for a third that I never filled because I didn't want to take any opioids, but Tylenol and ibuprofen basically, right? So I've been staggering those. The ibuprofen was prescription level. I'm down to like over the counter level.
Yeah.
And I
I think that's normal.
It.
Yeah, I think that I had a hernia surgery years ago, a little bit different than a C-section, but also can be quite painful because you're moving core muscles. And I did the same thing. I took ibuprofen and staggered that down, and I was pretty sore for a few days, but it wasn't excruciating. And I've also heard that a lot of studies are finding that if you appropriately dose, prescription levels of ibuprofen, of aspirin and Tylenol, or acetaminophen.
Usually ibuprofen.
Usually ibuprofen because the aspirin's a little harder on your stomach in high doses. But if you do that properly, you get almost the same pain relief as adding the codeine or adding other opiates, and that unless you're in extreme pain, there's no need to introduce stronger medications, and that you can work through a lot of those things. So yeah, it's for both of us. It was pretty effective.
The other thing, my senses, and again, this might be coming from maybe some of the athletic background, is I'd like to know where my limits are, and the pain tells you where your limits are.
Instead of masking it.
So I don't want to completely mask it. I don't want to be uncomfortable, but on the other hand, I want to make sure I know which area, how I can move, how I can't move, so I don't overdo it.
Food Forest is here.
Yeah, hello, Food Forest. So, so that's another reason why I've been tapering off. And I almost forgot to take my last dose of ibuprofen. And I was just
you didn't forget a week ago. You're like, oh, you tried to get out of bed one time. You're like, oh, my pain meds are near the end. That's not good.
Yeah, so that's completely changed actually quite quickly. So I'm actually doing.
And it's funny because the ICU was trying to well, maybe we'll get you up after the first day and work on getting you out of bed, which is one thing you need to do to get out of ICU. Yeah. And mother baby floor is like, are you kidding me? We have them up in a couple of hours. We're like, we don't mess around because because you want that recovery time, and you don't and they don't want your stomach and core muscles to start contracting.
Well, and here's the other thing: a lot of women, when I was at the hospital, I had to have the baby handed to me. By the time I left on Sunday, I was able to pick her up on my own, get up with her in my arms. Now she's not that big. At birth she was 7 pounds 4 ounces. Now typical babies lose weight initially, so she was, by the time we left, she was probably 6 pounds 12 ounces. So she's not a heavy big baby. I mean, she's long. She's 20 inches long.
She's average. I mean, she was born 1 week early, so
yeah. She was full term, but born at 39 weeks. But yeah, so on Sunday, they were saying you might have to have someone at home who can hand her to you and this and that. But I was getting up with her at the hospital before we left, so so that wasn't an issue.
So interesting. I was listening. What was it? Friday. I was driving around, and there was an NPR thing going on, and I only caught the beginning of it. They're talking about a hospital in Africa that basically just didn't have anything, and they rarely had, they couldn't do surgeries, so they didn't have supplies. They rarely had many of their medications because the federal government wasn't getting them into them or getting them at all, buying them. And so they're talking to nurses. They're like, how do you handle this? And they're like, well, we don't use pain medication hardly ever at all. And they're like, we don't need to. And so I missed the tail end, but they were actually talking about birthing and other things. They're like, and of course, having pain medication is a great thing, I think. But they were talking about, well, birthing, there's no need to. There's supposed to be pain. So we talk about how to control your pain, how to work through your pain, and they kind of coach and assist and limit it. And then they say because you need your body and your brain to get the pain so that you get the dopamines that resist the pain and then provide the healing. So all that's true, but of course, having some pain control
having
is
some
also,
balance is
but it was an interesting discussion that they were doing it out of necessity and out of tradition, that they don't have any resource, and how they have nursing store. In fact, they said the reason people come to the hospital is almost always some form of pain. Sometimes it's psychological, but the root cause of why they end up there is
something
is psychological, or usually lots of physical pain in terrible conditions of not being well cared for. and so they really are a pain management team without medication or some limited herbals and things. So that was, and I didn't get to hear the end of it. I had to go make a drop off or something.
Yeah. And nobody's asked yet that I've missed some of the chats, but one of the things I was concerned about is, whenever you bring a baby home from the hospital and you have pets, is how do the pets do with the baby?
Yeah.
So Puddin's first reaction to coming home, she was,
give me the ibuprofen. Yeah, at least the ibuprofen. I agree. Ibuprofen can do a lot of work for you.
But first reaction, by the way, coming home, you were carrying her in the car seat carrier. So I was coming in not holding anything on purpose too, because one, I can't carry that yet, because it's above my weight restriction, and two, because I knew Puddin would be excited to see me after having 3 days of my not being around. So she definitely was jumping up and down. She was a little nervous of Bella initially, like a little shy to sniff, and she kind of held back.
Yeah.
But by the second day, she was coming up and sniffing, like looking at me for permission to sniff her. And just over the last day or two, well, she has been following me around like crazy. Excuse me. She's been following me around like crazy, like shadowing me, like to the point where I have to walk her to the back door. I have to walk her to the back door to make sure she goes out and takes care of herself. But so I think she knows that I'm healing from, well, giving birth, but I'm healing in general. But recently, she's also been very curious and trying to not pushing into things, but making sure she's watching the baby as well. So this was, I had Bella on the bed, and Puddin decided to jump on the bed. She's very careful. She was a little playful, but she was very careful to leave space, and she fell asleep right there, like dragon pose, and on the bed here, within a foot of Bella. She's very excited about, sniffing and saying hi. Put Bella in the bassinet at the foot of the bed, and Puddin shifted that pose. This is like a few minutes later. Shifted that pose to putting her head right here so she could just watch her. So she is definitely watching over her. Like if I'm going, she hasn't come to get me if Bella's crying yet. But if I'm going to change her, she's coming to see what I'm doing. She's definitely been
well, she was sniffing you and your incisions when you got home.
She did sniff my where my incision was. I mean, through the clothes. So she knew I had an injury and was healing. So I think she was initially primarily, watching over me.
Yeah.
But
she's done really well. I think
really
her and Bella are going to do really well together.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, there are dogs that have herding or other issues or small baby issues, personality-wise, but most of them do really well.
Hey,
I had one friend. He had a dog when they brought their baby home. The dog kind of looked in and was really good, and at one point kind of just a little bit of somewhat aggression, and he went and looked at the dog, and I think he screamed at her, threw him across the room, and the dog never did it again. And I mean, they had a swift talk about the baby, and after that, their dog was fine with the baby and protected the baby, and never an issue again. But they had a little bit of establishment about the terms of the baby.
Yeah.
So.
But Puddin, oh man, she gives Bella the space. She will only come up and sniff her if I tell her to come up and say hi. But she has been doing really, really well. Curious, but very, very much giving her the space too, and just watching, and getting used to the new routines. I mean, this is all new routines for her. Doctor told us many years cat can lick remnants of milk from a sleeping baby's mouth. We were very careful not to have the cat in the room with a sleeping baby. Our cat hasn't been interested in that so much. Helix has come up, and every time I nurse her, wants to sit on my lap and hang out. But I started this with cats I grew up with, this way of like, I'll kind of push back a little bit on their forehead and to nose. And most of my cats have learned that stay out of the space.
Helix is pretty, he's
fairly laid
pretty
back.
gentle, and he's a little bit, shy, so he's not an aggressive cat. I don't think we'll have any problems with him.
No, and he has not even tried. Well, the bassinet we have rocks. We haven't rocked it all the time, but he's not even tried to get in the bassinet or the crib. He's actually been sleeping sometimes under the crib, which is kind of interesting. It's a little cave under there, I guess. But he only seems to be interested if I am nursing, and then he seems to just really be begging for my attention, not really paying attention to the baby or anything else. It's just I'm sitting down, hanging out, giving the baby attention. He might be a little jealous of that, but he's really just asking for attention. So usually if I have my legs stretched out, I'll just have helix down on my lower legs, purring away, creating some nice white noise to help Bella sleep, but not let him. I mean, he came up and he does this head butt greeting, like where he puts the top of his head against your forehead, or he'll do that to Puddin's nose. And he did come up and do that to the top of Bella's head once. Just came up and head butted him and then settled down next to us. So he's been good too. So yeah.
So I think animals definitely kind of have to adjust and accept the babies as part of pack and adjust to that. But I think that our animals are gonna be just fine. No hard transition for them.
Yeah. So I'm actually wondering. Since we've had Bella in the room, I've been catching her pretty much at early cries. So Puddin hasn't had to like come to get me. I'm already going to get Bella when she cries. But yeah, I would wonder actually if she would try to come get me if I was not right there when Bella cried. I think she probably.
I have heard people say that babies crying, when you let them cry too long, some of the dogs kind of like roll over on the bed and look at you like, are you going to do something? Like they've had enough, they want to sleep. And so I think Pudding would be fairly responsive to her. I think they're going to do really well together.
Yeah. So far things have been good. First week home, literally 1 week home so far. Transition's been going well. My parents are going to come up and visit this week. That is one thing we're really being careful of. Everybody knows if they're coming to visit that
just limited visitors, healthy.
Limited visitors, limited number of people at a time. I don't need to be stressed by a number of people. But if there's any sign of any colds or anything,
we've got the holidays and everything else coming up, so there's no reason to rush. We don't have a lot of family in the area, so
mainly my family.
Your sister's family and your parents. So
yeah. Yep. So
Teresa Wheeler.
Hi, Teresa. So we have all that. And I do have a whole series on Instagram and on our Facebook page, by the way. When Bella is awake, she is expressive as heck, man. She is like oohing and ahhing and looking at everything. And this one, we had someone, I forget who it was now again.
One of the local people.
Okay,
the Roots.
Yeah, right. Who made a comment on this one? They completely laughed at this picture, and then posted a picture of, if you guys know, Salt Bae doing his thing, and I was like,
sprinkling salt
over the food. Yeah, I could completely see that. This is a complete Salt Bae picture, baby picture. But yeah, it was funny. But so I'm not going to go through all the pictures. I've been taking tons of pictures, but if you like baby pictures, our Instagram will be full of them for a little while, I have a feeling. Although we'll still put food things and stuff on there, which we do have some food things here, but I wanted to take a break before we switch to food because, by the way, those of you women out there who had babies definitely already know this, but I've been so hungry. Oh my gosh, I've been eating, like getting up in the middle of the night, not just to feed Bella, but to feed myself. I'm hungry recently. So, but we did have a couple local meals, and
we've been cooking a bunch because we've been around and
I guess
parents and well, I was switching over some cooler refrigerator stuff, and I was losing a half freezer for a larger refrigerator. So I had to make sure I'm getting everything in the freezer. So I was also pulling things from freezers and juggling them around since we just put 30 chickens in the freezer a couple weeks ago. Things are pretty full. So
Okay, should we do one more showing since we have a lot more people in
Yeah,
here?
I can do that. Yep.
Okay,
Good idea.
can you adjust the camera? Sorry about shaking the camera. This is our new addition, by the way. It was about a
Surprising she's staying
week and a
quiet
half.
this
I
long.
know. Well, she just ate. As I was putting all the
Mhm.
pictures together, she was nursing.
So baby Bella.
Baby Bella is going to probably be featured in a lot of her stuff because I have a feeling that any projects I do will have a baby backpack from now on, and a lot of yours as well. So, yeah,
Yeah, we were watching Doug and Stacy right up until a couple minutes
before our show.
And
Yeah,
then we got that weird thing where their audio feed somehow entered our
Into ours.
audio feed, which
I didn't realize could happen with our.
yeah,
our
we had it muted, but
so
I guess muted the speakers, but not your
not the internal
video program. It
Yeah,
sort of merged them.
that was odd.
Sorry, Doug and Stacy.
Didn't mean to steal your
Yeah.
show there. No. So yeah, so that's the newest edition. Lots of food this week. Oh, and before we get into the food, there was one other thing I wanted to do. It's the end of the month.
Mhm.
We have not done our giveaway. We do a once a month giveaway at some point in the month, and of course we
Somehow
weren't.
it ends toward. A lot of
always
times it ends up towards the end of the month, but
Well,
it actually? It's
part of it was
varies
because
a
we
little
didn't
bit.
do a live show last week because we
Correct.
just got home from the hospital. If we had done a live show last week, we probably would have done it then. But wanted to do a giveaway. The giveaway is usually a choice between two things, by the way. And I don't have a copy of the book here, but I think I got a screenshot of the book. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so Grandpa Campy's a northern Michiganian, by the way.
Okay.
I noticed that in the Doug and Stacy live. We are from Southwest Michigan near Kalamazoo.
Yep,
So
that's Kalamazoo.
yes. So definite a fellow Michiganian. And by the way, if you can, you should go to the Pratt event in the summer because there's a lot of people. Well, there's people from out of state going to it too now, but a lot of people from in-state going to that event.
Yeah, Pet Family. Yeah,
Hootenanny.
Usually middle of July.
End of July.
End of July.
But I don't think they announced the date.
They
yet.
didn't because they're
still
but
working out.
It's in July.
Yeah, unless I missed it. So,
Well,
but anyway,
well worth the trip. Starting to get a lot of people coming from other areas just to meet all the people. There was probably
Northeastern. Yeah.
about 200 people
Yeah.
this year. So
And it's a big potluck. Some giveaways, some
doing some little educational things.
some mini workshops basically, and some stands for selling things, and then people can camp. It's at a campground, so people can camp the night before, or after, or both if they want to. So it ends up being a whole weekend thing. If for some who stay down there, it's just a lot of fun. So I would suggest checking it out. I hope to make it someday. Yeah. Lisa Sutton, I think, is maybe
Lisa
near the
Sutton
thumb.
she has a pretty good drive. Yep.
She comes down for it. Yeah.
Oh,
Your mom made
we were
it
debating.
home.
I figured you get home around 10ish, but
Yeah, it
sounds
is
like you did
about
well.
10. So
yeah.
yeah, we were just about to do our giveaway. Let me pull it up. Our giveaway we've done this one once before last year.
Been out for 10ish, probably more years.
Yeah. So
we have second edition, but there might be a new edition since then. I'm not sure. We might be sending you the most up to date one.
We might actually have the first edition because this is the one that I have linked in our kit, which would be the newest edition.
So we'll be sending the newest edition.
Four Season Harvest by Elliot Coleman is a book that we use a heck of a lot. Now we're not set up other
Fundamental Home jumped in.
Oh, hello.
Oh, how you doing? Got all the. We kind of like how we tend to go to about 10:15 a lot of times, and it's funny because we get a whole new crew of that 10 o'clock transition, or the 9 or the 8 o'clock in the central and mountain time zones that. We kind of catch different people. So
we have about 21 people in the room.
Good. So good. So we got giveaway. So rules are people that won the last 3 months are not eligible. Everybody else is.
Yes.
And we're going to select the winner based upon whoever comes
up with
on the screen first with us on our screen, because it may vary slightly, and we have the final say in the winner if there's any controversy in correct answers.
So it'll be first one that comes up on our screen. We will actually have two options. One option of a prize is this book. which we use all the time, like I said, for
Especially
trying to
for
grow.
cold weather, it's great. But
Yes.
anybody growing into the winter and wants to get a bump up or preserve product,
Or
so
yeah,
it's the right
yeah.
time, or it's hurry up time to get into your 3-season, 4-season, or to plan for next year and realize how much can be done.
Yeah, absolutely.
We just covered our greenhouse
With
what
our
was
first
it?
frost
2 weeks
this week.
ago. We
Yeah.
recovered the top and we closed up the side all but one gap
Yeah.
a couple days ago. We did get a hard freeze. We hit about 31, 32 on Friday night. The answer is Isabel. I don't even know what the question is.
That is too funny.
I don't. Cindy didn't even discuss what she's going to ask.
Oh boy. Okay, I do have a. Yep. I have a question. It's just the second prize though. The second option.
Prize is a selection of 2 pastas, so you can check. You
The
can
web.
select either the book or the pasta, and either we can coordinate because you'll be sending your information to us. If you want pasta, we can coordinate on what the shapes
Which
are.
ones?
I will
Yep.
choose and send you 2. But the book is really, really good, so I highly recommend that. Also, the book
Yeah.
you can keep for a long time. The pasta will disappear quickly. So yeah.
Oh, the pasta will keep for a long time if you don't eat it, but
Not as long as the book.
it's probably not. No. So anyway.
So yeah, we will do either direct ship the book or I will ship.
The people
pasta.
who won the last 3 times, by the way, July was the White Picket Fence, August was Green Gables Homestead, and September was Tina. I think Tina might be the only one in the room of those 3. So,
There you go.
so those are the ones eligible this month.
So your chances are.
I think it was 22
Yeah,
people.
we got about 22 people, so your odds are pretty good.
Yep.
Oops, I just.
That's fine. Leave it.
Yeah. My mom's here, but she's probably not going to weigh in on it anyways.
So it's probably a 1 in 20
so
chance
you got
here.
about a 1 in 20-ish chance. So
Tina
it's pretty
says
good.
get the pasta.
So
The pasta or the book, either would be good.
they're both good stuff. Yeah.
So.
I know that we always got to have something that's gluten free, so it tends to be a book or something else.
Yeah, I know, right? Okay, so here is the question. What method was Bella delivered? How was she delivered? For those of you guys who were here earlier, yeah, right. What was the method that Bella was delivered? And she's making faces at me. See who comes up first. I know there is a delay here as well. And we did talk about this earlier in this live feed. So those of you guys who've been here this whole time. Valerie D, C-section, first one up. Yes, she was a C-section. And then everybody got, and I was going to put what is her real name, but you already got to it. I had to switch the question. But, so yes, C-section. So, so Valerie D, you'll have to contact us. You can either send us a Facebook message, or you can email us at parttimepermies at gmail.com. So part-time permies, all one word. And yeah, so you can. Do we have our first?
By stork, yes.
He delivered by
Underwater.
stork. Okay, do we? I think we actually have our first troll in our live show.
I know.
Wow!
Yep.
Thank you,
Bye-bye,
thank you, Suburban Hurlbilly. Anyway, so yeah, C-section Valerie D. Let us know what you want and where to send it.
Send us a Facebook message or what else? That's the best way
Facebook
usually.
message, email at parttimepermies at gmail.com. And I'm trying to write one thing and say a different thing at the same time.
So, yeah, send us your address and send us your selection of
either the book or
yay,
2
pasta.
pastas.
Is that you want pasta? All right.
Okay, I can make note
so
pasta.
You can look. You can look at our website. Most of our things are there, but not everything. Or if you want me to just choose 2 interesting items, I'm happy to do that too.
Most of our pasta does not have egg in it, but if you don't care about egg or not egg and you want us to send us 2
I have
random
a little bit
things.
of pumpkin pasta. I have some egg. I don't have too many other flavored items right now. We're a little bit low on stock. I've just been pumping out a lot of stuff everywhere.
Yeah,
so
a lot of orders recently.
Yeah, but happy to get you something good. So yeah, we'll be sending that out usually a couple days in the mail.
Yep. So yeah, just letting us know which one, or our choice, whichever you want. Anyway, so
you
that.
got to ask the chef still, right?
Yeah, we do. So I know it's after 10, but we'll do this.
So we had a couple. Yeah, we
Because
were.
I don't have to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We've got. We cooked some Pratt pig. So we got.
Pratt
The
Family
last hog we
Homestead.
got was in November, so almost a year ago, last year.
Yeah.
Still have a lot of it left, but we got most of it finally put into sausage a month or two ago, because it'd been cubed up and frozen. This is
Okay, gotcha.
a
Oh no, that's not Valerie. Sorry. Yep, go ahead.
this is a shoulder or a picnic, so front leg, that I had brined at the time that we sectioned it all out. I brined it before I froze it. And so I just did a pan oven roast. I haven't done a straight roast for quite a while. Just large slow joint roast. Skin on, got some nice crispy skin, and so that came out really good. We actually made some sandwiches tonight.
Yep.
Did some cheddar and just kind of pan griddled.
I took
sliced
pictures, but I didn't get those pulled
pork
up yet.
and with some pickles and stuff tonight.
Yeah.
And we got some more leftovers to do some good stuff. So it was just as good or better on that, getting in the cast iron pan and browning it off a little bit.
And with that pork, we had
some Brussels sprouts, threw a couple pieces of apple and some hazelnuts in there. I was just mostly cleaning out stuff in the refrigerator. I had bought the Brussels sprouts this week, but apples and hazelnuts were laying around. So that was our green vegetable. And then we roasted for the last hour of the roasting. Threw in some Yukon potatoes, some carrots, some onions, a little bit of celery, and then the last half hour I had some grape tomatoes. Been given a huge bag of them. So I just threw a bunch of those in. So they all roasted down very nicely and naturally. They've just been tossed in a little oil. And and they roasted in a big roasting pan. Was able to pull off enough drippings and put a little bit of chicken stock in there to make a pan jus. So we had traditional roasted vegetables, roasted pork leg, and a little pan jus, and then we had the Brussels sprouts on the side, and it all came out really, really good. Again, haven't been able to do slow roasted vegetables like that for quite a while. So very tasty for the colder weather.
Yeah. Someone's getting a little fussy, maybe.
Little bit.
Just starting to wake up.
So yeah, did you do this?
Yes, we did.
You did that
I did that one already. So
right.
If you scroll down a little bit, we also had scroll down a little bit further. There you go, and transfer that.
Earlier in the week, did 10 pounds of onions for onion soup. Made a traditional onion soup.
Yeah.
And
that was so good.
Just slow cook that down. Of course, you need good crusty bread, which I buttered and toasted in a pan, and then I stuck in the toaster oven with some, basically like an aged Swiss style cheese. It is from Wisconsin, but it's similar to a Compt. And so put some of that on there, because good bread and good cheese make that good onion soup, which is really a meal in itself. So traditional French onion soup. We had some apple cider, so I put a splash of apple cider in there, and I put a splash of bourbon in there. Usually use a little brandy. I didn't have any brandy, so we did American style. Sweetened it up just that touch with the apple cider, and then just a little bit of cooked off a little bourbon with.
And your mom made dessert.
Yeah, and then my mom made dessert. We have a local commercial apple orchard about 1.5 miles down the road. Got some nice pie apples. She's good at making pies. I frequently don't have a lot of time to do it, so I commissioned her to make some pies, which she was happy to do.
Yep. So we did have a cooking question come through as you were chatting about all the good food we've been eating this week. How do you cook kohlrabi?
How do you cook kohlrabi? Kohlrabi is a lot of fun, and people do get a little scared of it. It looks like aliens. So kohlrabi is one of those, well, it's a semi-root where it's kind of a bulb that's a little underground, and it's kind of sitting right at ground level. Yeah. It has 2 layers, so that outer skin, depending on how old it is, how developed, can be kind of tough and fibrous, and you need to remove it down to the lighter flesh. I had some kohlrabi that were this big. They're called Giganta kohlrabi or something.
Yeah,
those crazy. Are huge. And they store really, really well through the winter, by the way. So you may have to remove the outer skin unless they're tender, or slice them really, really thin. You can use them almost any way you would use cabbage. So they are great sliced, coleslawed, done into any of your raw salads. You can pickle them. You can brine them, and you can definitely cook it So you can add it into your stew vegetables. It's mild, so it's cabbagey and get a little bite when it's raw. It becomes a lot more neutral and actually gets a little bit sweet when you gets a little bit sweet when you cook it down. You can roast it. You can put it in with roasted vegetables. It's quite nice. You can simmer it or steam it. You can add it into curries. You can stir fry it when it's cut up raw. So super, super versatile. Use it anywhere you would use cabbage, and then also use it in similar ways as you would use other root vegetables for soup, stews, and braises. Yeah, don't be afraid of it. It's a really good use. It holds a long time. It's inexpensive, especially if you're getting them at the market or you're growing them.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And Carrie asked, how do you cook the onions? Get 25 pounds of onions to use.
Yeah, somebody had a question on Frugal Family similar to that not long ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so bags frequently come in 25-pound bags, which
Or if you
can be
grow
pretty,
them,
can
you
be
can have
yeah,
that.
or you can grow them. They can be pretty inexpensive when you buy them in large batches. So what you do is, of course, peel them. I like to take the stem out, the stem end, and then cut them the long way. If you don't take the stem out, they can stick together and they kind of form a chunk. If you cut them the other way, you get like these rainbows. People do that. I don't know why. I just don't do that. So you slice them all up, or if you want to, you can peel them down and throw them through a processor. Although the processor actually releases more of the strong flavors than if you just chop them with a sharp knife. So cut them into a medium julienne. Put them into a heavy bottom pan, a little bit of oil, turn the heat on high. It's going to take you probably 45 minutes to cook them down. You can also do it in a big roasting pan, and some people will do it in a hot oven.
I was wondering if people could hear that. Bella's going to need a diaper change soon.
Gurgling a little bit, yes.
That is, she's going to need, look at, that's why she's stirring, I think. She was concentrating.
Making traditional French onion soup is all about the onions and taking time to get them cooked right. So you want to cook them on high heat, get them starting to brown a little bit, and then you're going to bring your heat down to medium. You'll stir it every once in a while, but kind of let it start to brown first. And you're stirring it so that you can get, you're getting a lot of the water out, you're getting them to caramelize. Go to a dark caramelized onion. In fact, go as dark as you can get. Far darker than you might do for just some sauteed onions. They will reduce by about 4 times. So start with a big pot, big roasting pan, and let them reduce down. You do need to keep them from burning. If they burn, they'll get better. They'll get black specks in the soup. So there's a fine line between getting them as dark as possible and burning them. If the pan starts to get too much of a glaze on it from the sugar from the onions, brown bits, you deglaze or remove that, and you can do that with a little bit of stock or water. Frequently it's done with also sometimes a little white wine or with brandy. So brandy, you'll cook out the alcohol by far in this type of preparation, but it provides some sweetness from the grapes. That's why you can also use things like cider. You can use things like a little bit of American whiskey, which will give a little stronger woody flavor. And so that wetness will help you dissolve the sugar on the bottom of the pan. You stir it aggressively into the onions, and you can repeat that 2 or 3 times so that you prevent the burn and you increase that color and get it all the way into the onions. So after about 30 or 40 minutes of this process and attending it and not overly stirring it, but keeping a close eye, you can then you're going to add your liquid. And again, if you want to do it in an oven, I'd say a 375 degree oven probably, and stirring it occasionally in a big roasting pan, that's another method. And then you're going to add your liquid. So once you have your really browned onions, you can make the rest of the soup in probably 10 minutes. It's pretty quick. Ideally it's veal stock or beef stock, brown stock, but chicken stock is fine. Brown chicken stock or even blonde stock. Water, vegetable stock, you can do it vegetarian. And you're just going to add in enough water to suspend it all. You can put in a little bay leaf for thyme, salt, pepper. And
I'm going to interrupt for 1 second because she needs to be changed.
Okay.
So I'm just going to give you a quick instruction. If you finish up before I'm back, and there, and we'll be done. But you have another quick instruction. And I'll get her away.
Yeah, so onion soup, you can find lots of recipes for it for French onion soup, but the the beauty of it is the inexpensiveness and the simplicity of ingredients can make a great soup if you take the time on browning your onions. Then you just bring everything to a simmer, adjust the seasoning. You can remove any of the fat that comes to the top from the oil that you cooked in it, and you will have a really, really nice onion soup ready to go. And then good toasted bread and decent cheese to finish it off, and brown it all, and you're all set. Let's see. Jerusalem artichokes. I love Jerusalem artichokes. They are ready once you get cold nights. That reduces the gassiness and makes them sweeter. So that's right about now. You can dig them all through the winter too. So as long as the ground isn't so frozen that you can separate them, you can just hold them there and you can pull them and dig them through the winter. They can be eaten raw and shaved really thin, or sometimes the skin is a little tough and you need to peel them. You can peel them. They can be pan roasted or oven roasted. They will definitely develop a sweetness if you roast them. And yeah, soup stews as a side. You can gratin them with cheese, and we used to shave them really thin and fry them as sort of like a little chip, little vegetable chip. And I've done some raw salads with them too. So really versatile, very inexpensive, easy to grow. The one thing that we have a bunch in back, we didn't harvest last year. I don't know if we're going to take any this year because they were new. Once they establish, you won't be able to get them to stop. They have enough little runners, they'll just keep coming and coming. So put them somewhere maybe outside of your garden and in a way so that they can spread and not interfere and take over everything. But they're a great staple crop for the fall, winter. Animals will eat them, and then you get all the top stuff, which is good for composting. What else? Is there another question here? I got the Jerusalem artichokes. And we got the French onion soup. So we had lasagna this week also. I put all the stuff together, had all the different components. Then my mom assembled that. We had that last night. I don't think we made a photo of that. I'm not certain of that. All right. Any other questions on cooking or otherwise? We're kind of getting in the 10-15 range, so we'll wrap things up. But if you have any other questions, happy to, or if I missed something here, I'm just cruising through the back for missing anything here. We've been eating a lot of pawpaws. Pawpaw season's just coming to an end as we've had a hard freeze, but tremendous amount of pawpaws were available this year, and so we've been enjoying those. I think we have 4 left, and we've been going through a lot of local apples. Again, from the market, we got a few apples off of our tree, but again, we're not real big fan of our tree. We want to put in some new ones. Ricotta or cottage cheese? Yeah, I think we've talked about that before. So I grew up with cottage cheese, and I really do like that. Happened to have a tub of ricotta that was not used on some other projects, so I froze it. Ricotta is not super frozen, but it's okay to freeze, especially if you're going to cook it into lasagna. So we used ricotta. I think that they both do a good job. I actually have a preference for cottage cheese. I think it's creamier and smoother because ricotta ends up getting a little bit gritty. If you use ricotta, add about 1 to 2 eggs per quart to help firm it up a little bit. When I worked in New York, I think if I did tell people that we use cottage cheese, they just about died that was the worst thing they could imagine, but actually it works great. So and then I had homemade pork sausage, sweet and hot Italian sausage. So we mixed that 50-50, browned and crumbled that. It was bulk. I had some meatballs, homemade meatballs, beef pork blend, and so we put a few meatballs in, which is common East Coast. We did not. I have not ever done that before, but that's kind of a common thing. Mini meatballs, a real nice way to finish it off. And then I had local tomato sauce, and I was making lasagna sheets this week. So yeah, we did a pretty good job on that. Is there a rule of thumb when it comes to adding salt when making broth, soup? I'm not a salt person. I am always undersalting my soup and have to add more. All right, well, it's always better to undersalt than oversalt because you can add it later. Typically, you do not salt toward the end, or you just salt a little bit at the beginning, because it is good to have some salt sometimes at the beginning because it works its way in. If you salt too much at the end, it can kind of sit on the outside of things and taste salty but not integrated. However, most of the seasoning you want to do at the end. The reason being, you don't know how much, especially soups, are going to reduce. If they're simmering for a while, you could lose 25% of the liquid. Well, if it tastes good when you started it, it's going to taste way salty when you finished it. So doing that adjustment and seasoning towards the end and accommodating for loss of liquid is important. For restaurant seasoning, you're going to sprinkle in, I like to use kosher salt, but any salt works fine. You can sprinkle it in. You keep tasting it. So you put just a little bit in, you taste it, a little more in, taste it, and your mouth should water when something is fully seasoned. Now, fully seasoned doesn't mean it's salt is to your taste. I do believe a well-seasoned item will be more enhanced and more flavorful. However, there's nothing that says that one person likes something as seasoned as somebody else, but there are sort of some key areas. So for a restaurant, we're going to season it till our mouth waters. When your mouth sort of naturally waters, that's a good indication that you've got a high level of salt. It's usually somewhere between 1.5% and 2% salt on a highly seasoned item. And that's when you stop. And again, adjusting for any dehydration or add more liquid back in. If it's become too salty, it will begin to taste sweet. Aside from tasting very salty, you actually get a sweetness on it, and it will become unsatisfying. Now, European soups, which are served like 4 ounces, 5 ounces, puree soups and different things, consommes are really, really heavily seasoned, and they really jump out at you, which is fine. We tend to eat a larger amount. We eat a bowl, an 8-ounce bowl, a 12-ounce bowl. So with that in mind, I would keep the salt down a little bit just because it becomes a lot of salt to handle, and the portion size matters on how aggressively you season things. You can also season not with soup, but you can season the outside of things. So you can not season the middle of something, and then you can put something, a salty crust on it if you're concerned about salt. That way you'll get a high hit of salt, and you're like, wow, that's really salty and tasty. But you can actually have a low overall salt because you could say get a high amount in like a stuffing where you've got a lot of salt integrated through a whole item versus just on the outside. So yeah, but salt levels are somewhat personal. Err a little bit on the short end. I will tell you, when salting meat, typically people under season, you need to put about double on what an average home cook needs to put double on what a restaurant cook would use on, say, a steak, because to get a full flavor on that. So yeah. Yeah, low fat, no fat cottage cheese is fine. I've sort of really changed my opinion. I think that low fat, no fat in general is not as helpful as going towards a full fat. The reason being, when you have low fat, you have a reasonable amount of protein. The protein's still there in the milk whey, but you have a lot of milk caseins and milk sugars. So your carbohydrate ratio goes way up. Your protein stays the same. If you add the fat back in, it's a good quality of fat. And that butter fat will change the ratio of carbohydrates, protein fat ratio. It doesn't change the overall carbohydrates, but it slows down digestion. It's more satisfying. I don't think it really matters in a baked item where you've got other things, but let's say you're doing yogurt and you want a yogurt that's more satisfying, filling, and sustaining for like a breakfast or a lunch. That full fat yogurt or full fat milk will do much better. So we have moved back to buying pretty much full vitamin D milk and trying to find full fat yogurts. A lot of the reason we took the fat off was because that's the highest value, and it can go to butter and cheese. And so the whey and caseins and everything can sell cheaper. Yeah, there's something about non-fat milk, but with the digestion and the sugar level, I think we've reassessed the situation. It becomes a marketing thing to cast off the whey as a lower value and put it into market. So collecting full fat, and again, full fat is only half the fat that comes out of the cow. Typically, it's 4% on milk. So yeah, kind of reverted towards getting a little bit more of that dairy fat back in for a little better balance. Bouillon is really, really salty. It is expected to be cut. It will tell you how much, depending on if you're using a granular bouillon, some form of a base, or a concentrated liquid, or you're using a paste. They'll all tell you the recommended amount for a soup as well as a sauce. That's fairly close. Most of them add a lot of salt. Your best bases have low salt. They have high, usually yeast extract, which is a natural way of creating meaty flavors. And they will have a very low amount of salt and also limited amounts of MSG or glutamates. That's your highest quality, because if you get to too much salt, you can't get full flavor. You have to back off. Now, if you use a no salt bouillon or base, it can taste not full flavor, and you're going to have to add a little salt for it to wake up. But yeah, you can moderate that. I don't keep much base around because we have tons of chicken stock around, and I use that. Occasionally, we'll put a little beef base or something over the top of the chicken stock. And another good thing if you're ever making soups or stock, this is a great thing if you're making chicken stock. So 3 carcasses, leftover carcasses, even the centers, and some leftover veg will get you about a gallon of stock. But you can, so I just take carcasses, not the edible portions that we put on our plate, but if I'm, say, carving a roasted chicken, about 3 of those or some wing tips or some chicken feet will give you a nice gallon of clear stock. It smells beautiful. Smells just like the vegetables. Smells like the chicken. But when you taste it, it tastes like almost nothing because there's no salt. So if you take a cup of that and you need it boiling hot, consommes or bouillons, broths, it should be tasted when they're near boiling hot. So you just sip them. But you put a little sprinkle of salt in there, and all of a sudden that smell that you smell but you're not tasting pops, and it just shows up and explodes when you get salt in there. And that's actually how we learn to season soups in school, is making consomme. And you make it and you taste it, or even just plain stock, and you, without the fat in it, just the water. Taste it, add a little more salt, taste it, add a little more salt, taste it, add a little more salt, until you get that mouth-watering full flavor, and that's what full seasoned soup is. Sometimes we even then go and season it till it tastes sweet, and go, oh, that's over seasoned, now you know what it is. So do that with chicken stock, because chicken stock or vegetable stock is pretty inexpensive to take just a couple ounces, and that's sort of your way to train yourself when you're looking to see what full seasoning is. And again, if you don't care for it that highly seasoned, don't do it. It's all right. So yeah. They remove the fat from the milk, but replace the fat with sugar to enhance the taste. They don't usually replace the fat with sugar in milk. It's just because you remove the fat and you end up with more sugar as a ratio or as a portion, because that fat has been replaced, I guess, with sugar, but with the natural milk. Now, when you're talking about yogurts and when you're talking about low-fat items, so we have 3 things. We have fat, we have protein, and we have sugar or carbs. So whenever anything's low fat, low sugar, low salt, you take one of the other things and you boost it high so that it tastes good. So if it's low salt, you're going to make it high sugar or high fat. If it's low fat, you're going to make it high sugar so that the sugar comes through, and then you're going to bump the salt a little bit. If it's low sugar, they might make it a higher fat or a higher protein, which could be decent. But if you watch the packaging on most of the healthy alternatives that aren't just like a whole grain traditional thing, food scientists pretty much take one thing away and they push in the other direction so that it tastes good, which makes it not necessary. It could be right for the right medical conditions, but it isn't necessarily nutritionally balanced. So that is totally true, which is the reason why you can have very sweetened non-fat yogurt and it tastes kind of watery and not great. You can buy full-fat yogurt that's unsweetened or very lightly sweetened or just has a dollop of jam, and you're like, wow, this is really satisfying because you've taken the salt. So watch the salad dressings, watch a lot of those watch the frozen yogurts and stuff, the dairy desserts, to get them to freeze properly. When the fat's reduced, you need to add more sugar so that it stays soft and tastes good on the tongue. So those tricks are there, and I don't know a way around to get salt, sugar, and fat low and make something taste good and satisfying. Our stomach senses sugar, it senses fat, it senses nutritional density, and it tells us when we're faking it. It can taste good, but it never tastes as good. One way you can use black bean and fine puree of beans or chickpeas as a fat replacer. So you put a little, like think about hummus or something, a little bit of olive oil or tasty oil over a fine smooth puree of white beans, chickpeas, black beans, like black bean brownies. And you up the fiber, up the protein, lower the raw sugar carbs to a more complex carb, and you can actually get a pretty satisfying textural component, switching crude fiber and bean fiber for some of your fat. So that's and then chocolate covers up everything. Cocoa and chocolate can do a lot. So yeah. All right. Yeah, I think that kind of wraps things up. We're hitting 10:30. Cindy is going to come over here for just a second and say goodnight, and then we'll be off until next week.
Okay. Sorry, standing in the background. Too many things by my desk. Squeeze. Oh, yeah, someone got hungry after changing. So, but yeah, it sounds like you guys had a good conversation on foodstuffs. And let's see, we got 11 people still.
Did we have a video from French onion soup from a year or two ago? I think we
I don't
might.
remember. We might.
We had pictures. I think there might be a video.
I don't know. We'll have to look that up. You can look through our old videos and see. We do have a lot of cooking videos, or a decent number of cooking videos. We'll add more to those.
I've been a little slow on doing those recently. Just too busy.
Oh, my goodness. I think she wants more food, so we'll probably have to say good night. And we
Valerie
will...
D, get back to us if you haven't already.